Bram Stoker's literary creation Count Dracula set the cultural blueprint for modern conceptions of the vampire. It was written in 1897.
That novel changed what people perceived as the vampire. He wasn't a monster. He was someone who can think and act and have multiple pieces of real estate and travel. But interestingly enough, to make a good story, Bram Stoker had to introduce some things he created himself. One of the limitations was the sleeping in the boxes of earth. That doesn't really exist in folklore. He just used it as a device to have his vampire be limited to certain crates, so that way the hunters could destroy the crates and effectively trap him.
So the vampire in the coffin is pure fiction. In 1922, the movie Nosferatu by German director F.W. Murnau gave vampires even wider exposure.
When he filmed Nosferatu, he basically lifted Dracula illegally. Now, he knew he was going to get sued, so he decided the best way to protect himself would be to change the ending. So rather than have his vampire walk around in the daylight, in the novel Dracula can walk around in the daylight, he decided, because it's a creature of the night, when the sun would rise in that climactic scene, you know, you'd see Max Schreck just like vanish.
So even though some self-proclaimed vampires say they are sensitive to light, there is no scientific basis for it. It's a cinematic creation.
Those two stories, basically Nosferatu and Dracula, account for almost everything we have today.
But there are true stories that inspired Stoker. Like the 16th century Hungarian Countess Elizabeth Bathory.
It sort of helped fuel some of the legends that Bram Stoker worked off of.
She became renowned for her bloodlust, eventually becoming known as the Blood Countess.
The legend has it that one day she was in a room getting ready. One of her handmaidens, I guess, got cut or something, and blood ended up on her face. And when she wiped it away, she noticed that her skin was whiter, younger looking underneath.
She became transfixed by blood. And Bathory began a brutal murder spree, killing her female servants for their blood.
So it sort of set something going in her mind that if she were to regularly bathe in this blood and really douse herself with it, she would look young longer. And she started bathing in blood of her maiden.
She was eventually jailed for her crimes and died behind bars. There is no solid evidence Bathory ever actually drank the blood of her victims. But Stoker was mainly inspired by Vlad Tepes, or Vlad the Impaler. He was born in 1431 in Transylvania, now a part of the Eastern European nation of Romania. He was widely feared for his cruelty.
He was an amazing military genius. He lived in the worst time frame imaginable. You were under constant attack from the Turks. He was basically put in a difficult position of ruling with an iron hand.
Stoker got his vampire's name from Vlad's nickname, Dracula, which means little dragon.
Now, it's interesting because all the vampire folklore being staked in the grave, the real Vlad Dracula actually used stakes that were upright, and he would put his prisoners on top of them, and it was a slow, painful death as you slowly slid down, and sometimes it took hours to die. And he would actually eat dinner watching these criminals, or what he perceived as criminals, being put to death.
But no evidence is known of Vlad's desire to drink blood. Stoker appears to have made that up.